Excuse me, Mr. DJ.
Hey, check this out. We got a great show coming your way.
From the ECSI Sports Studios, the #1 sports information program in America, the Breakfast Bankroll, with your host, the sports broker, Jeff Dawson.
ECSI fans, do you want to revolutionize your sports investing habits? Allow me to tell you about WagerWire. WagerWire is an app that helps you become a superior bettor by allowing you to sync all of your sports books and track all of your bets in one place. See your current action, your betting history, and stats. You can also sign up for sportsbooks and collect bonus offers. Follow them at WagerWire on X, as they're the best account on the platform. Head to the App Store or Play Store now and search WagerWire to download the app.
Good morning, sports fans from all around the globe. I am the host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors, and this is your Breakfast Bankroll for Thursday, November 16, 2023. Our weekly trip over the Sagamore Bridge, down Route 3 to I-93. Hopefully someday directly to the Back Bay with local legend, sports wagering and content king, Mr. Julian Edlow from DraftKings and DK Sportsbooks. A shout out to the gentlemen behind the glass, Joseph Shea, Cade Horton, Evan Lewis, Olu, and Bennett, and a proud sponsor and partnership with WagerWire. If you have not downloaded the app, please go to Google Play or wherever you download your apps. Download it. It's free. Get familiar with it. Start tracking your bet. Start keeping an eye on your ROI and scroll down below. A lot of good promotions, free wagers, and matches from a bunch of sports books there. And tis the season time, so what better way to make a little flash cash than joining the affiliate program? Send WagerWire an email to affiliates@wagerwire.com. Tell them JD from ECSI sent you. They'll take good care of you. Travis, Zach, and the rest of that team and community. Great people, and they're on their way. So without further ado, let's bring in the star of the show, the one and only Mr. Julian Edlow.
Morning, Jeff. How we doing?
I'm doing great. Let's say we're doing a lot better than our locals, the New England Patriots, which we'll spend a little time with. But the Celtics, I was doing a bunch of shows yesterday monitoring the lines, and the big question mark was, is Embiid playing? And as we were wrapping up our closing bell show, next thing out of nowhere comes Brown and Porzingis out. No problem. Celtics, big win in Philly. Thoughts?
Yeah, it was a good win for them. It was a great spot for them to begin with Philly on the back-to-back and losing in Philly last week. But you take Porzingis and Brown off a team that's major concern seems to be depth, and you wonder if they can get that game. But they did. Tatum played well. Derek White was great. Holiday was good. Horford stepped up and filled in. Hauser didn't even hit his shots stepping into the starting lineup for the first time, and he had been the best shooter, 3-point shooter percentage-wise in the NBA. But depth-wise, they still get there with Pritchard, Cornette, Banton, guys off the bench coming in and playing well against a good team. So it's just a regular season win on a Wednesday night, but it was nice to see that they can win a game against a good team without some of their top guys.
Moving forward, they had lost to Philly about a week ago. They were 1.5, 2 points, might have closed at 2.5. Harden had left the building, and you can see obviously the breath of fresh air for Philly. opening up a bigger role for Maxey and the rest of the team there. Both teams were 8-2 coming in. It looks like initially, and we got 70 games to go, of course, a collision course maybe with the Bucks. 76ers are going to be there. But moving forward, you know how the locals are. The thought process is we went into Philly, no Brown, no Porzingis, and we win by 10. So I think moving forward, anytime they lose to any team, never mind Philly, they're going to be when they're full strength. The locals going to look at what the hell's going on here.
I mean, Philly's a team that they play well against, and they have played well against for a long time. So, you know, I'm going to have the same take with the Celtics all year. If they're healthy, they're going to win that series in the postseason. If they get that series, maybe they're the 1 seed, and you let Milwaukee, who's not quite, they're the ones with the championship, and you're not if you're the Celtics. But I'll say that this Milwaukee roster maybe isn't as proven. So if you can or maybe doesn't match up as well with Philly, I don't know. If you can let them duke it out in the second round, then great. So game doesn't change too much for my overall outlook, but it was nice to see them win a game where they had to rely on their depth, and they were able to do that.
You know, I follow you on your timeline. I follow all your work and the amount of content that you put out, the amount of work, props, digging deep in the DraftKings Sportsbook. I mean, you guys offer by far the most out of any sportsbook, and I think honestly, it's probably the most user friendly. I am so comfortable on that. Do you find it frustrating if you spend hours on work and then you get the late scratch on, if you had a Jaylen Brown prop, if you had a Porzingis prop, does that slow down your work when guys are questionable and you're unsure if they're going to play?
I've just come to accept what the NBA is, and you're going to get those situations. So it doesn't slow down my work. I would say it delays my work. You couldn't bet that Celtics Sixers game until we knew about Brown and Porzingis. And then when Brown and Porzingis were ruled out, I already had interest in Hauser props because of how he's been playing. I played him over 6.5 points, and the alternate of 10 plus points was plus 275 on Monday night, and he had 12. He cashed both of those. So I was ready for Hauser props, but with Brown and Porzingis out, how inflated would they be? And it was quite inflated. It took a while to open them. They opened them maybe 30 minutes or so before tip, and it was 12.5 points on Hauser. So I had to pass. That's always how it works out. I go on to follow the money on Wednesday morning, kind of show this angle that I've been going after on Hauser props, and what happens. 2 guys are ruled out, and the prop opens double what it was the night before when I had cashed on it. So let's see on Friday in this game against Toronto. Brown and Porzingis hopefully back. It's an in-season tournament game. Let's see if we can get Hauser back down to 6. And he only scored 8 last night, so he stayed under his prop. Let's see if we can get a 6.5, 7.5 on Hauser on Friday night, and that's something I'm interested in. But I think you need to, project to the injury news. And when you're genuinely unsure, like Brown and Porzingis, I knew Brown was going to play, but Porzingis I was unsure on. You just got to wait it out and then play it.
I know you're a season ticket holder, a big fan, obviously, of the Celtics. 11 games in, 9-2. I remember we go back last year at this time with the Bruins start and the Celtics start. They have a combined, I think, 4 total losses. And here we are again doing the same song and dance. I said this to you in June, July. I'm going to say it to you again on November 16th. The feeling of the Celtics team feels a lot different in my eyes than last year. Do you agree?
Yeah, they seem, they seem to care a little less about the perception and some of the small things that they've cared about in the past, and be more focused on the big picture. And that seems to be apparent when you hear guys like Jason Tatum speak. It's clearly apparent when you hear Joe Mazzulla speak that he's moved past caring about a lot of the smaller things, the perception of him as a young, new, first-time head coach that fell backwards into a job. So they seem a little more at peace, and I think that's a good thing for their long-term outlook in terms of the season, if that makes sense. So I'm pretty confident that, when this team is put in big situations in the postseason, that they're going to, do what they need to do to win those games. I don't know if the shots will ultimately go in, but they'll be prepared to handle those situations, as I'll keep saying, as long as they are healthy with those top 6 guys.
Gonna switch to the Patriots. I traveled to Germany, and offense inept. I mean, it was best described on that interception late when Gesicki was wide open. He just had to lob it into the to the pylon, and it was almost like a Steve Sachs or a Chuck Knobloch. He had the yips. He just, I don't know, froze and couldn't throw the ball. I personally think we've seen the last of Mac Jones. The shot of Bill with his head like this, like, what else can I do? And the rumors, of course, that now that he's the favorite to go to San Diego to be the head coach and the GM. Just your overall thoughts initially, where the Pats stand right now, Jules.
Oh, they're a dumpster fire. The players stink. The coaching isn't good. So I guess the only difference is that they're not necessarily tanking. They're not doing this on purpose, and that they're just this bad. They're going to get a really high pick. They could use a quarterback, but the quarterback's the most important position. So if you like one of these guys that you can get high in the draft, you should take him. But I'll keep saying, you cannot play that person. You cannot play your next quarterback until you fix the other things you need to fix to put that quarterback in a good position. So that means fixing the offensive line that I heard from Bedard of Boston Sports Journal had Mac Jones under pressure on 66% of his throws. That's like impossible. So you have to fix that. It's like the worst offensive line in the NFL. Mac Jones made mistakes, but he's not in a good situation. And then you got to fix the pass catchers. There's nobody to throw the ball to. So there's just other things that absolutely have to be fixed before you put whoever that next quarterback is back there. But yeah, the team isn't good. They're going to get a high pick. Maybe they'll beat the Giants. They're 5.5-point favorites against the Giants out of the bye. But there's no gimme, including the Giants, the rest of the way. This is a 3, maybe 4-win team.
And that's a perfect segue. Coming off the bye, 2 teams with fighting for the loser moves into that number 3 spot there. The consensus is Caleb 1, Drake May 2. Then decisions. We know that the Bears own the Panthers pick this year as well. Let's just play the game for a second, Jules. The Patriots end up with the number 3 spot. Caleb is gone and Drake is gone. Now the perception is going to be, well, you got to draft Marvin Harrison here. He's a generational wide receiver. We'll build around Marvin Harrison. I like to play the game where if the Bears said, hey, we want to move up 2 more spots, and with Justin Fields potentially come back this week, and they might win a couple more games, and we'll offer you a boatload of picks. That's always been the Bill way. Well, if Bill's not here and there's a new head coach, there's a new GM, do you have to grab Marvin there, or would you look to drop back and just try to get a king's ransom for the number 3 pick?
I mean, I'm sure Bill would probably love to drop back, but it's not Marvin Harrison or move back. There's also the lineman, the O lineman from Penn State that apparently is going to be a top 5 pick. You desperately need that. You desperately need to protect the quarterback. So that would be another option in my mind. I'm fine with Marvin Harrison. Like, I mean, Bill Belichick hasn't hit a wide receiver in 20 years. This is one way to hit one. Take Marvin Harrison, take a generational one that like can't miss prospect. He's got it in his DNA. This is a can't miss prospect. So that's one way to hit a wide receiver. Have him fall into your lap at the third pick. Now that helps a lot, but you still got to find your quarterback and you still got to protect that quarterback. So it would look ugly with Marvin Harrison at first because you need to find those other pieces. But again, you can't fix it all with one pick. So I would be fine with Harrison. I would be fine with an offensive lineman if you think that's the right move. But yeah, I mean, Harrison's a tough pass. It's just not a real Patriots pick. But if you want to hit on a wide receiver, which you've never done, Marvin Harrison Jr. is the guy.
Switch over to college football for a second. Actually, you know what? Before I jump into college football, how you been? What are your eyes seen so far? Almost 2 weeks into the college basketball ranks.
Not a ton. Arizona's win at Duke was very impressive. They're a team that I liked a lot to begin with, and they showed me a lot in that game. I wasn't sure what Boswell was going to be, the sophomore point guard who kind of started there really young. He was kind of the up in the air piece for me, and he was fantastic on the road at Duke. So he's a piece that I think makes them better than I thought they were going to be. Speaking on Arizona, Duke, nice bounce back from that loss by beating Michigan State pretty good in the Champions Classic on Tuesday night. Michigan State's really good. They just can't shoot. So we'll see if that changes. Like, Izzo's teams get better as the season progresses, but if you can't shoot, you can't shoot. Like, they're not going to learn to shoot by the end of the season. So Michigan State's a team that I liked a lot to start the year that maybe I've cooled on a little bit. I don't want to overreact too much to the losses, but it's the shooting that stands out to me. And Kansas and Kentucky both looked really good. I think Kansas is the best team, and they looked the part. But Kentucky arguably should have even won that game, and they didn't have any of their 3-7 footers. So let's see how that team develops throughout the season. I think that's been a pretty big storyline. So those are probably my biggest takeaways. I'm looking forward to a line opening up today on Villanova and Maryland. Maryland's been bad. They lost to UAB and Davidson. I was ready to bet Villanova, call it like 4.5, 5, lay that with them at home on Friday night. They lost to Penn this week. If I can get that shorter, I still want Villanova. I'm really high on Villanova this year. Second year for the coach. Bring back Justin Moore, Dixon, the big guy. They're developing a point guard in Armstrong, but they brought good transfers in. The kid from Richmond, Tyler Burton, who's an NBA prospect, like a 20-point-per-game scorer, and a couple other good transfers. So for the weekend, I'm looking forward to hopefully getting a good number on Nova at home tomorrow night.
Stay in the Big East for 1 second. Obviously, I've watched 2 of the UConn games. Just, it is what it is. I mean, especially this past week against Mississippi Valley State. I said jokingly, I didn't see Jerry Rice out there. But really keeping an eye on the Creighton, Iowa. I said, we had the Creighton team total over 88.5, and it only landed on 92, but I think they had like 87 with 7 minutes to go. Perfect matchup against Iowa. And then there's Shaka Smart with the Marquette team. I mean, in the top 10, I think you got Marquette 4, UConn 6, and Creighton like 7 or 8. And you were just talking about Villanova. The Big East is going to beat each other up pretty good as the season progresses. If you had to put your hat on one team right now to come out of the Big East, are you on the Marquette team, or do you have a sleeper?
Well, odds-wise at 6-1, I do have a little bit on Villanova because I think they might be able to get into that class of Marquette and Creighton. I had the over in the game overall for that Iowa Creighton one. That was That should have been a bigger play. That was just you say it's obvious and don't overthink it, and then it usually loses. But like that was obvious. Don't overthink it. That was a track meet. Creighton's really good, but I have questions about their toughness. I think Villanova's a good bet, and if it's not Villanova, I'm going with Marquette. That was another one I meant to mention. What have I seen from college basketball? That's a team that went on the road early and got a big, real road win on Tuesday night at a ranked Illinois team that brought back some good veteran pieces. Marquette is absolutely the real deal. I'm not fading them in any way. I just think Villanova might be really good, but the loss to Penn suggests that maybe they don't have that type of Big East regular season winner ceiling. We'll see.
College football, the top four again another week. Georgia gets back to one. Ohio State, Michigan, and Florida State, and then Alabama gaining a lot of traction as we're getting ready for that collision course. Only thing that probably going to stand in their way, obviously, is Auburn, which they should take care of. Without making this a popsicle headache. My love affair for Oregon, and in August, you were here, and you were Sports Map Radio, both of us on Washington to win the Pac-12, Washington to sneak into the Final Four and shock the world. They're back. Unfortunately, this is the one game I've had circled. I don't think they win this week at Oregon State. Thoughts about the top four right now, and what's your thoughts on Washington, Oregon State this weekend?
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I thought this would be the slip-up spot. There was a +2.5 look ahead on DK. I was hoping to get the Beavers +3. Didn't happen. I snuck in some +1, and I took some money line, and that's going to be on a college card I don't love. My best bet, one of maybe only 2 bets this weekend. But yeah, that's the play for me. Washington's really good. They've snuck by in some very close games. You get to 10-0 because you're both really good and a little bit of luck. And I think that luck kind of runs out a little bit in a really tough spot at Oregon State. Washington has a huge advantage through the air, as they do against most teams. But you're going to be on the road, undefeated, Saturday night. Crowd's going to be wild. Oregon State, since the COVID season, going back the last 3 years, they're 17-1 at home. Their only loss at home is to a number 7 overall USC last year in a 17-14 game. You know how much USC scored last year. They held USC to 17 in that game at home. So spot screams Oregon State. It's becoming kind of, I don't want to say public, because if you look at the betting splits, it still shows a very sharp angle on Oregon State. But a lot of people are saying Oregon State in this game, but I agree. This is a Beavers spot. Washington will bounce back, beat Wazoo at home, and we should get 11-1 Oregon and 11-1 Washington in the Pac-12 title game for a chance to someone to go 12-0 and have a pretty good shot at the college football playoff. We'll see.
And you'll be there in a couple of weeks as well. My question to you, play the game with me for a second here. Alabama cheats and they beat Georgia. I'll just say Michigan beats Ohio State. So you're gonna, your SEC champ is Alabama. Let's say Oregon cheats, and your Pac-12 champ is Oregon. Michigan goes undefeated. Florida State goes undefeated. Alabama wins the SEC, which now they're in, and you're fighting for the one spot. An Ohio State team, 1 loss, no Big Ten championship. A Georgia team, 1 loss, no SEC championship. Let's say even Texas cheats. They win the Big 12. They already beat Alabama, but we know it was in week 4. The mindset 3 years ago or 2 years ago was, well, we're putting 2 SEC teams in there. In any way, twofold. There's no way an undefeated Florida State team doesn't get in there, in my eyes. And number 2, do they take a 1-loss, 2-time champ SEC Georgia team over an Oregon team with the Pac-12 title and a one-loss Texas team with the Big 12 title?
No, it's going to be one SEC team. Whoever wins, Alabama, Georgia is a college football playoff game. Michigan, Ohio State next week is a college football playoff game. The winners of those games are going to go in. So in your scenario, 12-1 Bama's in. 13-0 Florida State is in. 13-0 Michigan is in. And 12-1 Oregon is in, I believe, which leaves out a 12-1 Texas that beat Alabama. They probably have the biggest gripe with the situation, but it is what it is. And then the one-loss Ohio State also gets left out, and 11-1 Ohio State gets left out, and those are probably the top two teams that don't get in. Washington at that point. I mean, maybe Washington wins this weekend and then loses to Oregon even as an undefeated team. They're 12-1. I still think they're out. So yeah, that's how I think that would shake out. The only way to get a Texas or a one-loss, maybe a one-loss Georgia or a one-loss Ohio State, the only way to get another team in is if FSU loses.
Got a few minutes. I know you're busy here. There's 2 NBA games tonight. We didn't even dig into the college football slate. You got an NFL slate. How about some Julian Edlow in-pocket plays, whether tonight, Saturday, Sunday? What are you looking at so far this weekend, Jules?
So Oregon State's a play. I hate the NFL Sunday card, but the Chiefs are a play on Monday Night Football for me at better than a field goal. And tonight in the NBA, I am on OKC money line. No Steph Curry, no Draymond. Warriors kind of went toe-to-toe with the Timberwolves the other night. This is generally the next game where the regression happens. Klay Thompson, Andrew Wiggins, those guys haven't been good this year. And OKC's been pretty good. They've won 4 of their last 5. The one previous to that, they lost by 2 on a buzzer beater to Steph Curry. So a little bit of a revenge spot for OKC, but without Curry and Draymond. So that changes a lot.
The scroll has been going the whole time. Obviously, you can find Julian's work on Twitter at Julian Edlow. You can find at DraftKings, at DK Sportsbook, at DK Live, the Unreasonable Odd podcast. I'll let Julian talk about the sweat on Saturday and Sunday from 8 to 10, where you can find that. But the big question, Julian, tell people, why to download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. And secondly, any promos, boosts, or whatever you have there's a lot of people watching us right now that they might be able to get involved in tonight and the rest of the weekend and for the near future.
Yeah, I mean, why you play on DraftKings is for the options. We have the most markets, and we get them out the earliest. We've been first to the market with college basketball openers. Player props for the NFL week generally are coming up first on DraftKings. So you're going to have the most options, and you're going to be able to bet it first on DraftKings for the most part, generally speaking. So new customers right now, place a $5 bet. You get $150 in bonus bets. Let's see. We got a 25% profit boost going for Georgia, Tennessee, if you're going to bet that game. And I'm sure we're going to open up something for Thursday Night Football, but it doesn't look like it's up right now. Let me see. Yeah, nothing yet for NFL, but we will get something going there.
And where can they find you on the weekends?
Oh, thank you, Jeff. The Sweat, 8 to 10 a.m. Eastern. It's on VSiN. It's on DraftKings Network. It's on Samsung TV. It's on Twitter. You can find it. 8 to 10 a.m. Rip through the weekend card of sports betting.
Next Thursday, obviously, is Thanksgiving. Jules will be away. Everyone else will be watching football and feasting on the turkey. Jules, we can't thank you enough. We'll circle the wagons back in 2 weeks with you. Have a safe and fun holiday Thanksgiving, will you?
I gotta miss 2 weeks too. I'm gonna be out in Vegas doing some VSiN work and going to that game. So a double break for me, a double bye for me, unfortunately.
Well, at least we'll catch you before Christmas. How's that?
I can promise I'll be on before Christmas.
All right, Jules. Take care. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Jeff.
The one and only Julian Edlow at DK Sportsbook at DraftKings. Love our weekly spot to talk locals. As you see, I'm behind the TD Garden where the Bruins and Celtics play. Later today, 1 o'clock, I will be guest on Wager Talk at McGinnis Picks with Andrew McGinnis as we flip-flop. Tuesdays, he's here on our channel. Thursdays, we reciprocate and head over to his channel. And around 4:30 today, Riley Magnuson will catch you up on the closing bell. Talks probably NFL, Ravens, and Bengals, 2 NBA games. BC, Pittsburgh, big game for both. BC already bowling, but have lost the last two since they got bowl eligible. So kind of funny here. An opening number of 2.5 for the 47, down to 45 with the Pittsburgh -3. Reminds me of a couple weeks ago, that Friday night game where BC traveled to Syracuse and they took care of business here. They're baiting us to take BC on a bounce back. I was at the fiasco last Saturday as they got mauled by Virginia Tech. So it'll be interesting there. So everyone, thank you so much for watching and listening. If you haven't already, go over to YouTube at East Coast Sports Investors. Subscribe. It's free. Give us a thumbs up. If you're on social media, give us a like, give us a retweet, a share. It's like tipping the dealer at the Bellagio, Foxwoods, Mohegan Suns, wherever you guys, Encore, wherever you go to play. So from myself, Jeff Dawson at EC Sports Invest, from Julian Edlow at DraftKings, at DK Sportsbooks, at Julian Edlow. We wish everyone a great morning, and we will see you soon.